We've got affordable watches, we've got crazy watches, we've got affordable crazy watches, and we've got crazy affordable watches. These are my top 5 favourite watches hitting the market today. Make video go now! Many years ago, when I was but a little boy, I wanted to go to space. Fast forward to today, and I still want to go to space. Why? Because space is cooler than 2.8 Kelvin. About 2.73. But since I forgot to set up an online bookshop back in the 90s, my dream of leaving the gravitational pull of our rocky home is about as realistic as an old lady's fresco. Just as well then that Uber watchmaker Bethune gave me some distraction from a lifelong yearning with the Dreamwatch 5, a timepiece so crazy it could kidnap a little boy and return him to Earth 8 years later, completely unaged. One small problem. The Dreamwatch 5 will remain a dream thanks to its astronomical price tag. It started in 2014 around $150,000, but you can happily spend $500,000 on one now. Just as well then that GPHG nominated French watchmaker Theo Offray and entrepreneur Guillaume Ladet, responsible for reviving Nevada and Vulcain, decided to right this very, very specific wrong. This is the Argon Spaceone, and I think you'll agree, it's ridiculous, and I'm here for it. Available in brushed or polished steel, blue titanium, brushed titanium and forged carbon fibre, with the last two limited and already sold out, the Spaceone takes the classic watch, punches it in the face, and steals its lunch money. Everything about it is crazier than an indoor fireworks display at an oil refinery. It's 52 by 42mm in size, although a wrist-hugging design at 12.6mm thickness means it's not like standing under a bus shelter. The digital display is powered by a Soprod P024 and gets a proper jump hour complication designed by Theo. All the parts are manufactured in Switzerland and it'll be assembled in France. Here's the kicker. The watch itself isn't the craziest thing. It's those two nutters, Theo and Guillaume, pricing it from €1,500. There's a ticking clock, however. No matter how popular, no matter how much the people beg and scream, the Kickstarter will run out on the 10th of June, and once it ends, that's it. On to the next project. As if salmon weren't already too busy being delicious, they've also been lending their name and hue to a trend of watches since 2019. Did I say 2019? I meant 1940, when salmon dial watches first bust onto the scene like a pale pink Brette on the beach in Mallorca. The simple reason for using copper-coloured dials is, well, who doesn't like the gleam of a shiny new penny? Literally no one. When you get a shiny new penny in your change, it is international law to say to whoever's with you, "Oh look, a shiny new penny." That experience fizzled out for a while until some bright spark in Switzerland, presumably in Starbucks, received a shiny new penny and ran all the way back to the factory, spilling mocha chocolate everywhere. And what better to do with a new idea than to squeeze it dry than a tube of toothpaste? It didn't just get done to death. It got reanimated and done to death again. This presented a problem for the cool kids at Moser. If you don't know much about this brand, I'll give you a one-liner summary. They've pissed off the entire industry multiple times for being cheeky little so-and-sos. Can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs, and that's the Moser approach to watchmaking, throwing shade and getting laid. As a result, Moser has earned a reputation for being a hugely imaginative and unexpected brand, and not just with the ultra-crazy stuff like the Cheese watch and the Icons watch, but with their bonkers dials, unique case shapes, and incredibly transparent approach to doing business. So when it came to the salmon conundrum, Moser was on the fence. Paying customers are so afflicted by shiny penny syndrome that not having a salmon dial in the collection was simply leaving money on the table. But making one was equally no bueno, riding the bandwagon like it's a Mumbai train. Moser decided to do both. There would be a salmon dial, but it would be different. This would be some crazy LSD-fueled salmon nightmare set into the case of a Streamliner. What in pictures looks like a not massively atypical salmon dial with a touch of fume around the edges is actually a portal straight through to Sauron. If Sauron were a delicious oily fish. Story idea. Salmon. Move the watch around and the hotspot on the dial follows you like it's obsessively interested in your jewellery. There's a depth and contrast to it that flickers and flashes in direct sunlight to a point where it feels like the watch should come with a "do not look directly into the dial" warning. Trust good old Moser to come up with something nuts like this. Oh, and they called it the smoked salmon. LOL! So, as we all know, the perfect watch doesn't exist. Well, apparently someone forgot to tell Simon Brette because he went and knocked out the Chronomètre Artisans, which is so close, it's actually a little bit painful. Just the sheer existence of something this stunning is a stark indictment of my general lack of achievement. So who is Simon Brette, and who does he think he is, just turning up out of nowhere and making a watch people would happily duel over? Is he a wizened old watchmaking hermit who spent the last 2 world wars making clocks in his mountain shack? No, he's annoyingly young and handsome and enjoys playing rugby. Who he is the guy who's been working for MB&F, designing such lunatic watches as the Legacy Machine 1 and 2, MMX, HM9 and HM10. But how does one man do so much? The secret? He doesn't. He gets other people to do it for him. Now that sounds like a scathing condemnation of the man, but it's actually his strength. For his watch, he's corralled all the artisans he's worked with over the years to make his vision come true. It's the Max Buser methodology of getting shit done, and for Simon, it's worked exquisitely. These are the people you've never heard of, doing the work for the brands you've heard of a lot. There's 12 altogether, and I will list them for you now. Mathieu Allegre, designer. Yasmina Anti, hand engraver. Marc Bolis and Alina Ruel, micro-mechanical machining. Barbara Coyon, decorator. Pierre-Alain Dornier, high-precision machining. Julien Duckerman, manufacturing. Damien Geniard, finishing. Nadine Gorgel, hairspring regulation. Alexis Greco, decorator. Nathalie Jean-Louis, decorator. Luc Monet, prototyping. Anton Peterson, prototyping. Now, aside from demonstrating how bad my French accent is, why make such a big deal about each person? Because despite the boom in the independent scene, a lot of these guys are scratching around for work and are in some cases close to shutting down. And if they do, their know-how goes with them. Each one of these artisans has a specialism that's gone into making the Chronomètre Artisans as show-stopping as it is. From the dragon scales hand-engraved on the dial, to the concave polishing of the screws, which takes an hour per, by the way. This watch is a sizzle reel of what's possible in watchmaking. There will be a run of 12 watches per year for around 60,000 Swiss francs each, but it's pointless me telling you that because the waiting list is already completely full. Should keep those 12 artisans pretty busy. What do you get if you cross the offbeat stylings of Mr. Jones watches with Playboy photographer Anna Diaz? Why, the Very Late, of course. Very pointedly not in reference to Anna's work ethic, the Very Late does what we all wished we could do and says, "F*** it." But there's more to this watch than an exasperated outcry. If you didn't know, Mr. Jones watches typically collaborate with a lesser-known artist to inspire an unexpected thought or feeling in the wearer's mind. Most famous is the A Perfectly Useless Afternoon, which deliberately makes the effort of reading the time too much to remind the wearer that sometimes an afternoon is best spent not knowing what the time is at all. Plus there's a duck. Before we get to the heart of the £195 limited edition Very Late, a little light instruction first. To read the watch, first turn your attention to the pair of strawberries orbiting the dial. Lame word fact for you, the strawberry is not, after all, a berry. A berry carries its seeds within the fruit. You know, like a banana. Anyway, the whole strawberry is the hours and the half-eaten strawberry the minutes. Makes sense in a delightfully British way. Just like apologising a lot and chuckling our way through depression. This seemingly magical display is achieved through the use of clear, rotating discs, and therein lies the secret to the watch's message. At any other time but the hour, the pink evening sky is dotted with a jumble of letters that looks like a banner pilot ran the Red Bull air race. But as that hour draws near, the discs align and the message becomes clear. F*** it. Time is just a social construct. If the A Perfectly Useless Afternoon is a subtle reminder to enjoy time spent in the absence of time, this is a note wrapped around a brick thrown through the front window. The effect is much the same, however, just with more swearing. I would like to remind you that the mentality isn't quite so effective on teachers and bosses when you rock up mid-afternoon. To wrap things up, we're back where we started, talking about legendary nutjobs, Bethune. These guys took one look at the futuristic impossibility of the Star Trek universe and thought, I reckon we can combine that with an ancient mechanical art form. Usually when I say stuff like that, it's just to reach 8 minutes, but this time it's actually true. The DB28 collection has been knocking about since 2010, a staple of the brand, if you can call such a mad thing a staple. It integrates many different developments of the previous 8 years of Bethune under the steer of legend Denis Flageolet, like the DB21's flexible lug system that fits the watch comfortably to any wrist size, and a dial that is essentially a canvas for the incredible imagination of the brand. Over the years, we've seen the DB28 Digital, a jump-hour moon phase, the DB28 GS Yellow Submarine, illuminated with a mechanically powered lighting system, and the DB28 XP Starry Sky, made iconic with a heat blue titanium dial, set with gold stars. Now there's the DB28 XS Starry Seas, and it comes packing a fresh punch to smack you clean out your shoes. First, the XS stands for extra small because this DB28 is a diminutive 38.7mm wide by 7.4mm thick. Good news for those on the slighter side of Arnold Schwarzenegger, as even with the flexible lugs, the DB28 was already a pretty big wear. What's really cracking for the DB28 XS Starry Seas is the dial finishing. Guilloche has been around since John Guilloche first decided to attach a knife to his spirograph in 1654, so you would imagine that this very traditional hand-applied technique has nowhere new to go. Well, Bethune has countered that argument by finding somewhere new to go with what's been called random guilloche. That's horizontal stripes cut into the dial with a random wave pattern that, when all's said and done, looks like the splishy splash of a moonlit ocean. Set with a starry reflection in gold, the overall effect is every bit the Star Trek traditional combo we've come to expect from Bethune. Just when you thought watches were getting boring, out pop 5 more that pull your pants down and spank your backside. What are your favourite watches you've seen coming out lately? Pop them down in the comments below. Please do like and subscribe as well, and in the meantime, I'll see you over on the Watchfinder channel. Still here? Watch this video next.